We all know that our emotional state affects our thoughts and actions, but we're rarely fully aware of just how significant that impact can be. Electric Sleep, a game made by a small team of indie developers, puts an elegant frame around emotions and their effect on our perception, thoughts, decisions, and actions. Before I go on, I'd like to point out that I went into this game completely blind, and I think that does offer the best experience. So I'll just give you the basics before diving a little deeper and talking about the themes of the game, and those who decide they want to try it can jump in spoiler-free. Electric Sleep definitely qualifies as an art game. It's short. I managed to complete all the main parts of the game in about 2 hours, though there's still plenty of content left that I haven't gotten to yet, and I expect I can easily get another hour or two out of it before it gets too repetitive. This is not a game to think about in terms of an hours to currency ratio. It's more like a quality short story or a short film. The writing is excellent. I'm a professional writer and editor, and I find typos, spelling errors, and grammatical errors in every single game I play. Yet I only found a single tiny error in this game. It is very impressive when a largely text-based game can live up to my high standards. And the game is largely text-based. It's more of an interactive fiction game than anything else. Expect to do a lot of reading. There are images on every screen, and they are very well-made pixel art, but there's not much in the way of animation or interaction with the visuals. They're more like illustrations for the text. Finally, there's the music. I really love the music in this game. First of all, it's just beautiful. Second of all, it's really well done. The start of each run has a very simple ambient sound, and as you advance through the world, it becomes more complex and intense. Just superb work, truly. If all this has already got you convinced to give the game a try, you might want to pause the video, get the game, and go play it before you watch the rest. For the rest of the video, I'll be talking about the game's themes and how playing it affected me, and there'll be a few spoilers in there for sure. I'll put a link to the Steam page for the game in the description below the video. It's only a few euros or dollars or whatever your local currency is, and if you enjoy this type of game, it is worth it. Alright, now that those people are off happily playing an interesting new game, let's get a little deeper into this one. I found this game incredibly touching. If you don't know me that well yet, here's a candidate for Understatement of the Year. I am incredibly sensitive. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I live in a very intense world, and I tend to be strongly affected by emotional content in games, and this is a game that is all about emotions. In Electric Sleep, you are a robot. You awake without any knowledge of where you are or why you're there, and you wander through the world trying to understand. You're not a cold, logical robot, though. You can feel, and your emotions change the way you see the world. On that first run, you're just stumbling around, taking it all in, getting your bearings. You have emotional reactions to things, but none are too strong or overwhelming. Until you reach one of the possible endpoints, where something intense will happen, and you will shut down, experiencing an emotional overload. You then start over, with a different emotion or combination of emotions turned on and dominating your consciousness, again and again and again until you've unlocked all your feelings. Each run through the game world only takes around 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how quickly you read and how long you pause to listen to the beautiful music. The really brilliant thing about this game is how vastly different your experience is in each run depending on your emotional state. The game world is not large, and it's usually quite easy to retrace your steps and follow the same path in each run if you want to, but it will not be the same story each time. The world doesn't feel the same each time, but critically, it is the same each time. The world is identical on each run, it's only your perception that changes. The most direct example of this filter is given right at the start of each run. After leaving your capsule, the first thing you see is a computer terminal with a message written on it. However, depending on your emotional state, you only see part of the message, whatever best reinforces the way you already feel. This all affected me the most on runs that involved fear or anger. In fact, the adrenaline run, which is a combination of both, had my heart pounding. It's astounding to realize that when you expect hostility, everything becomes a potential enemy. I found myself hiding from creatures I had recognized as friendly in the past. hunting for information about some enemy that was out to get me, barricading myself away, encased in a bubble of paranoia. This is something that has affected me in real life as well, at those times when anxiety gets the best of me and somehow everyone in the world seems to want to hurt me. The difference between real life and the world of electric sleep, though, is that in the game, we get to see this state contrasted with other states, such as joy and sadness. We get to see very clearly how absurd this paranoia is because we know from past experiences with an identical world that nothing is out to get us. And yet the narrative is so well written that even when the world is filtered through adrenaline or guilt or self-loathing, nothing we experience seems unreasonable. It makes sense, given the harsh coloring of the landscape and the intense pounding of the music, given the frame we are given right at the start from the message on the computer terminal, that we would expect the world to be hostile and dangerous. I found it very useful to play through the various emotional states and see how different the world can look depending on how you feel and what you expect. It was a good reminder for myself that even in the real world, what I see and feel and experience is rarely a true and accurate reflection of reality. We always have a filter, and being aware of it can make its impact less severe. Also important is the reminder that emotions are temporary. No matter how intense, something will always happen to change them eventually. And it's not something you can simply control. Even though in the game you're a robot whose emotions are programmed, you don't get to decide how you feel. You go through the world making the best decisions you can based on the information available to you. And even when it seems like things will never change, never get any better, or worse in some cases, something happens and suddenly everything feels different. Sometimes so completely different that you can hardly believe you ever felt any other way. I'll confess, for my first few runs, I thought the goal was to reach joy. I knew that joy was a potential emotion in the game because of the Steam achievements, one for each emotional state. Like many people, I've always thought of joy as the ideal state of mind, the best filter through which to view the world, and the hardest one to find. But when I finally found joy, and thought I had somehow won, I was stymied when I approached that computer terminal and realized that I still only had part of the message. What I could see was uplifting and positive, but still incomplete. That's because even positive emotions don't reflect all of reality. It's only when you've unlocked all of the basic emotions, joy, anger, fear, and sadness, that you finally get to read the complete message and all of the complex feelings it contains. Happily, that doesn't represent the end of the game, and there's plenty more to explore and experience. At this point, I've gone through each of the 10 different emotional states at least once, and several of them multiple times. I can still see that there's plenty of content left for me to experience, going down the different branching paths in all the different states of mind, and seeing what I find there. Fortunately, after you unlock the basic emotions, the game offers you a menu from which you can jump to any emotion you've already experienced and see all the paths you've already taken, making it easy to check out the ones you missed without having to get too repetitive. All in all, I found Electric Sleep to be a touching, engaging, and useful game. It's well worth its price, and the soundtrack is worth its price as well. I know that games like this aren't for everyone, but if any of what I've said has resonated with you or even just piqued your interest, I strongly recommend checking it out. Developers who are willing to put in the work to create something like this really deserve our support, and I can't wait to see what they make next. But if Electric Sleep isn't your cup of tea, don't worry. I'll be back soon with another new indie game, and who knows, that one might just turn out to be your new favorite game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.